Good morning, guys. Welcome back to ELA. We're going to do some grammar today. And I know you're like, Miss Jessie, we did this one yesterday. But hold on, we're going to do some different things. I'm just going back over what we learned yesterday. So if we remember, we talked about sentences yesterday and what good sentences need. And we talked about 3 things. First thing good sentences need is they have to have an end mark. And we talked about how there were different kinds of end marks depending on what kind of sentence it is. Because there are 4 kinds of sentences, and we're going to talk about 2 today. So we have to put an end mark. They have to make sense, which means they have a subject and a predicate. We talked about those yesterday, those ones that if you don't tell everybody, or if you don't tell somebody everything that you need to in the sentence, it wouldn't make any sense. So we have to make sure our sentences make sense. And the last thing is they have to have a capital at the beginning. Very good. All right, let's get into those different kinds of sentences. So the first kind of sentence we're going to talk about is called a statement. And statements just tell you something, and they end with a period, and that's a period, just a little dot. Some of the examples of statements are, I have a dog. The boy rode his bike to school. Tom and Mary are best friends. Those sentences are just telling you something. Most sentences are statements. They're just telling you something. That's why most sentences need a period, just like these guys. Can you guys think of any statements? Yeah, remember, statements just tell you something. Anything. Those would be statements, and they're going to get capital letters, they're going to get periods, and of course, hopefully your sentence will make sense. You're telling everybody exactly what you need to tell them. All right, the next kind of sentence is called a question. And questions ask something. They end with a question mark. There's the question mark, kind of that little squiggly thing with a dot under it. Questions would be something that would need an answer. For example, if we go back to the statements and I just say, I have a dog, you don't have to answer that because it's not asking anything. The boy rode his bike to school, you don't have to answer it. Tom and Mary are best friends, there's nothing to answer because they're just telling you something. But if we look at these questions, questions would need an answer. Did you find the book? Yeah, they want you to answer yes or no. What are we having for lunch? They want you to answer that. Tell what we're going to have for lunch today. Is that your dog? Yeah, they want you to answer yes or no. What is your name? People want you to tell them your name. They want you to answer. So if it's a question, it's looking for an answer. Those are what questions do. They're asking somebody something, and they want you to answer them. So that's kind of the difference between statements and questions. They all are still going to need capitals at the beginning, but questions are going to need the question marks, and statements are going to need just periods. Let's practice that just a little bit more. All right, it says, which kind of sentence are these? Put the correct end mark. So we're going to have to think. Are these going to be statements or questions? And what kind of an end mark would we put there? So the first one says, Donnie sits next to me. Think before you say anything. If somebody said, Donnie sits next to me, would they be telling you something, like a statement? Or are they asking you something, which would mean they need an answer? So is this a statement or a question? Good. This is a statement. It's just telling you something. So we're going to put a period because statements just need a period. All right, what about the second one? Will we have the same teacher? Think about that one before you say anything. Will we have the same teacher? That sounds like it needs an answer, doesn't it? They want somebody to talk back to them. Will we have the same teacher? So if it's looking for an answer, it must be a question. Yeah, ooh, that's a messy question mark, but there we go. It's a question, and it needs one of those question marks. The boys help Ben rake the leaves. Does that sound like a statement or a question? The boys help Ben rake the leaves. It doesn't look like you wouldn't have to talk back to that, would it? You wouldn't have to answer that because they're not asking anything. Exactly. The boys help Ben rake the leaves is a statement, so it just needs a period. Excuse me just a second, guys. I have to cough, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Sorry about that. I have something in my throat. Okay. Let's look at the next one. The friends walk to school. What kind of sentence would that be? The friends walk to school. Would it be a statement or a question? It just sounds like they're telling you something, doesn't it? The friends walk to school. They're just telling you those friends are walking. And if it's just telling you something, that means it's a statement and it just needs a period. Good. And then the last one, will you help me? Will you help me? What would we need to go there? That almost seems like it needs an answer, huh? Will you help me? They want you to answer yes or no. If it's asking you something, then it's got to be a good. Questions ask something, and questions need question marks. If it's a statement, they just need periods. So yesterday when we talked about sentences, how they needed an end mark, it's not always a period. Statements get periods, but questions get a different kind of end mark, which is a question mark. And you can always tell the difference between a statement and a question because questions are asking something and they need an answer. Statements are just telling you something. And I noticed something real quick before I do this. I better fix it. I just realized that W is not a capital letter. There we go. Sentences need capital letters, so I'm going to fix that real quick. There we go. Now I feel better about that. All right. I have faith that you guys are going to do really good on your statements and your questions. There's a real quick little worksheet that you're going to do, and you're going to look at the sentence and put the right end mark, just like we did today. So good luck. I can't wait to see how well you did.